You wake up, and the first thing you do is reach for your phone to check what people you barely know think about your life. You spend your commute venting about traffic to anyone who will listen, only to spend your evening worrying about a problem that has not happened yet. The Stoics identified these patterns 2,000 years ago, and they had one word for all of them: slavery. You are currently a slave to habits that feel normal but are quietly stealing your peace and your potential. Today you will learn the 10 behaviors you must quit to reclaim your mind, including habit number 7, which is the one most people will not want to hear because it forces you to admit how much pain you are creating for yourself. By identifying these invisible chains, you can begin the work of breaking them. The urge to be liked is a survival mechanism that has become a prison in the modern age. You find yourself carefully selecting which version of your life to present to the world, checking for notifications with a sense of desperation that you would never admit to in person. This constant seeking of approval from others turns you into a performer rather than a person. When you live for the validation of the crowd, you hand over the keys to your happiness to people who do not even know who you really are. Epictetus warned that if you want to improve, you must be content to be thought foolish and stupid by those around you. This means accepting that your growth will look messy to outsiders and that your internal standards must matter more than their external applause. Every time you hold back an honest opinion or change your behavior to fit in, you are telling yourself that your own judgment is not enough. You are essentially saying that the collective whim of a distracted audience is more important than your own character. That spike of cortisol you feel when a message goes unanswered or a post does not perform well is the price of your dependency. You have placed your well-being in a location where it can be crushed by any random person with a smartphone. To break this habit, you must start making decisions that have no audience. The next time you catch yourself about to share a moment just to receive a reaction, stop and keep it for yourself. Ask yourself if you would still pursue that goal or buy that item if nobody ever saw it. If the answer is no, then you are not living your life, you are managing a brand. Real freedom begins the moment you become indifferent to the opinions of those who do not have to live with the consequences of your choices. You must build an internal fortress where your self-worth is protected from the fluctuating weather of public opinion. The moment you stop performing for an audience that does not care about your well-being, you become dangerous, not because you are hostile, but because you are finally free. Most of the noise in your head is a running commentary on things that you have zero power to change. You complain about the rain as if the clouds are personally attacking your schedule, and you fume about the traffic as if the road owes you a clear path. This habit of complaining is essentially a rehearsal of helplessness. Every time you voice a grievance about an external event, you are admitting that the world has the power to dictate your internal state. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that you have power over your mind, not outside events, and realizing this is where you find your true strength. When you spend your mental energy wishing reality were different, you are effectively arguing with the universe. It is a fight you will lose every single time. Consider the energy you waste when a coworker is rude or when the government makes a decision you dislike. These things are real, and they may be frustrating, but they are outside your direct sphere of influence. By dwelling on them, you are taking the limited time you have and throwing it into a void. This habit creates a victim mentality where you are always waiting for the world to improve before you can feel better. The Stoic practice of the dichotomy of control suggests a much more efficient path. You categorize every situation into 2 boxes: what is up to you and what is not. Your actions, your intentions, and your responses are up to you. The weather, the economy, and the moods of other people are not. For one full day, try to catch every complaint before it leaves your mouth. Instead of saying how terrible the situation is, ask yourself what the one logical next step is that you can actually take. If there is no action to take, then the only rational response is acceptance. This is not a passive surrender, but a strategic conservation of energy. You are refusing to let your peace be stolen by things that do not even know you exist. When you stop complaining, something strange happens. The problems that remain are suddenly smaller because you finally have the clarity and energy to actually solve them. We live in an era designed to keep us in a state of constant craving. Whether it is the scroll of a feed, the hit of a sugary snack, or the rush of an impulse purchase, you are likely caught in a loop of seeking instant gratification. These small hits of dopamine feel like rewards, but they are actually debts you are taking out against your future self. You choose the easy comfort of the moment and pay for it with the long-term erosion of your discipline and health. Seneca noted that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it on things that provide no lasting value. Every time you give in to an immediate urge without thinking, you are training your brain to prioritize the present moment over your life's purpose. This makes you fragile. When life gets difficult, you have no baseline of self-control to lean on because you have spent all your time chasing the path of least resistance. The Stoic practice of delayed gratification is not about self-punishment, but about the foundation of real freedom. If you cannot say no to your impulses, you are not the master of your own life, your whims are. To regain control, you must introduce a gap between the impulse and the action. Before you reach for that distraction or that snack, force yourself to wait 10 minutes. Sit with the urge. Observe it like a passing wave. Most of these cravings are shallow and will dissolve if they are not fed immediately. By practicing this pause, you are building the muscle of your will. You are teaching yourself that you can experience a desire without being a slave to it. This leads to a deeper sense of satisfaction that no quick fix can provide. Real joy comes from the knowledge that you are moving toward a meaningful goal, not from the fleeting sparks of sensory pleasure that leave you feeling empty 10 minutes later. The next time you feel the pull of a distraction, remember that your future self is watching and waiting to see if you will protect their interests or trade them for a moment of cheap comfort. The next habit is something almost everyone does every single day, and most people do not even realize how much damage it is doing to their sense of self-worth. You spend hours looking at images of people who seem to have it all, comparing your messy reality to their carefully curated highlights. This habit is the fastest path to misery because it is fundamentally dishonest. You are comparing your internal struggles, your 3 a.m. anxieties, and your daily frustrations with a version of someone else that has been filtered and edited for public consumption. Marcus Aurelius cautioned us not to waste what remains of our lives in speculating about our neighbors, because that focus on others distracts us from the only thing that truly matters, our own character. When you compare yourself to someone else, you are ignoring the millions of variables that make your lives different. You do not see their sacrifices, their luck, their hidden tragedies, or their private insecurities. You only see the result. This creates a false narrative that you are falling behind or that you are inherently less capable. The truth is that there is no universal leaderboard for life. The only person you should be trying to outdo is the person you were yesterday. Every ounce of energy you spend looking sideways at your peers is energy you are not using to move forward. This comparison trap also breeds envy, which is a poison that prevents you from finding genuine satisfaction in your own achievements. Even when you win, you will feel the need to look for someone else who is winning more. It is a treadmill that never stops unless you choose to step off. To break this cycle, you must redirect your gaze. Every time you catch yourself feeling inadequate because of someone else's success, use that as a trigger to take one specific action toward your own goals. If you see someone in great shape, instead of feeling bad, do 10 push-ups. If you see someone with a successful career, spend 10 minutes working on your own project. By turning comparison into a trigger for personal action, you transform a negative emotion into a tool for growth. Your path has no leaderboard. The only score that matters is the distance between who you are and who you could be. Carrying a grudge is like keeping a hot coal in your pocket with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one getting burned. You might think that by staying angry at someone who wronged you, you are holding them accountable or showing strength. In reality, you are simply giving them free rent inside your head. You are allowing a past event to dictate your present mood. Marcus Aurelius famously said that the best revenge is to not be like your enemy. If someone was cruel, Being bitter makes you a reflection of their cruelty. If someone was dishonest, your resentment turns you into someone who is also consumed by negativity. You are not holding a grudge, the grudge is holding you. It occupies the mental space that you could be using to build a life you love. Maintaining resentment is exhausting work. You have to replay the event, justify your anger, and rehearse confrontations that will likely never happen. All of that effort, and the only person suffering is you. Letting go is not about saying what the other person did was right. It is not about being a doormat or inviting them back into your life. It is simply about refusing to let them keep hurting you from the inside. It is a cold, calculated decision to prioritize your own peace over the desire for an apology you might never receive. The person you are mad at might not even remember what they did, or they might not care. By staying angry, you are handing them a victory every single day. To quit this habit, you must view forgiveness as an act of extreme self-interest. You are clearing the clutter from your mind so you can focus on your own growth. Write down the names of the people you are resentful toward and acknowledge the lesson their behavior taught you about human nature or your own boundaries. Once the lesson is extracted, the resentment is just waste. Throw it away. You deserve to live in a mind that is not crowded with the ghosts of past conflicts. You tell yourself that you are just waiting for the right circumstances to start that project, have that conversation, or change your life. You think that once you have more money, more time, or more experience, the path will be clear. But the perfect moment is a ghost that you will chase forever. Seneca warned that while we wait for life, life passes. This habit of procrastination is often disguised as preparation or research, but at its core, it is fear. You are afraid that if you start now, you might fail or look foolish. So, you stay in the planning phase where everything is safe and theoretical. The Stoics understood the concept of memento mori, the reminder that death could take you at any moment. If you knew you only had a year left, would you still be waiting for the perfect moment? Probably not. You would be acting with an urgency that ignores the minor inconveniences you currently use as excuses. Every day you spend waiting is a day you will never get back. The conditions will never be exactly right. There will always be a reason to delay. The weather will be bad, you will be tired, or the market will be uncertain. Real progress happens when you decide to act in spite of the imperfect conditions. You must realize that the perfect moment is actually right now because it is the only moment you actually possess. Action creates its own momentum. Once you start, the obstacles that seemed insurmountable from a distance often turn out to be manageable. To break this habit, identify one thing you have been putting off and do the smallest possible version of it today. Not tomorrow morning, not after you finish one more task, but right now. If you want to write a book, write one paragraph. If you want to start a business, make one phone call. By taking action today, you are breaking the spell of one day and stepping into the reality of day one. This next habit is responsible for more suffering than almost anything else on this list, and the worst part is that it feels productive while it is destroying you. You spend your nights lying awake, replaying scenarios that have not happened and preparing for disasters that may never arrive. You think that by worrying you are being responsible or that you are somehow preventing the worst from happening. In reality, you are just suffering twice. Seneca famously noted that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most of the things you lost sleep over last year never came to pass, yet you paid the emotional price for every single one of them as if they were real. Anxiety is like paying a debt you do not even owe yet to a creditor who might never show up. This habit of overthinking creates a constant state of low-level stress that wears down your body and clouds your judgment. When you are lost in the future, you are absent from the present. You miss the opportunities and the beauty of the life you are actually living because your mind is stuck in a terrifying simulation of what might go wrong. The Stoic solution is to bring yourself back to the current moment with aggressive logic. When you catch yourself spiraling, ask yourself if there is anything you can do about the situation right now. If there is an action you can take, take it immediately. If there is nothing you can do, then the worry is purely decorative. It adds nothing but pain. You must learn to distinguish between productive planning and destructive rumination. Planning is a focused session where you map out steps to handle a potential challenge. Worrying is an endless loop of what if that leads to no resolution. To quit this habit, try writing down your worries. Seeing them on paper often reveals that they are far less threatening than they felt inside your head. Once they are written down, assign each one a status. Either it is actionable or it is out of your control. If it is out of your control, give yourself permission to let it go. You have the tools to handle the present. Trust that you will have the tools to handle the future when it becomes the present. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to make other people behave the way you think they should. You try to fix your partner, you argue with strangers on the internet, and you get frustrated when your friends make choices you disagree with. This habit is a form of arrogance. You are essentially saying that you know how to run someone else's life better than they do. Epictetus taught that we should make the best use of what is in our power and take the rest as it happens. Other people's minds, choices, and characters are firmly outside of your power. Every ounce of energy you spend trying to control them is energy stolen from your own growth. You cannot force someone to be more disciplined, more kind, or more rational if they do not want to be. When you tie your happiness to the behavior of others, you are choosing to be miserable because people will always be unpredictable and fallible. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people, but it means you stop taking responsibility for their actions. Your role is to be a good example, not a prison guard. If you want the world to be more virtuous, start by being more virtuous yourself. Your influence is far more powerful when it is demonstrated through your own life than when it is shouted through unsolicited advice or judgment. Imagine how much lighter your life would be if you stopped trying to win every argument or change every opinion. All that recovered energy could go toward mastering the only person you actually can control, yourself. To break this habit, the next time someone does something that irritates you, remind yourself that they are acting according to their own nature and their own limited understanding. You can control your reaction to them, but you cannot control them. Focus on being the best version of yourself and let others be who they are. The day you stop trying to control others is the day you finally gain control over yourself. You carry around the weight of your past mistakes like a heavy backpack that you refuse to put down. You replay the moments you failed, the words you shouldn't have said, and the opportunities you missed. You think that by dwelling on your regrets, you are showing that you have learned your lesson or that you are paying some kind of penance. In reality, you are just wasting the present. Marcus Aurelius said that we should never let the future disturb us, but the same logic applies to the past. The past is now an external event. It is as much outside your control as the weather or the movement of the stars. No amount of guilt or rumination will change a single second of what has already happened. When you live in regret, you are paying rent on a room you no longer live in. You are mentally displaced. This habit prevents you from seeing the possibilities that exist right now because your eyes are always fixed on the rearview mirror. You must realize that the person who made those mistakes in the past is not the same person you are today. You have more information now, which is exactly why you can see that those choices were wrong. To judge your past self with your present knowledge is unfair and unproductive. The only value the past has is as a classroom. Once you have extracted the lesson, the memory should be filed away, not replayed. To quit this habit, perform a simple ritual. Identify your top 3 regrets and write down exactly what they taught you. Once you have the lessons, consciously decide that the emotional weight of those events is no longer yours to carry. The debt is paid, the past is dead. Your life is happening in the tiny window of the present moment, and you cannot afford to miss it because you were busy mourning a version of yourself that no longer exists. This last one is the hardest to quit, but if you only take one thing from everything you have heard today, make it this. You have built a life that is as comfortable as possible. You avoid difficult conversations. You stay in a job that doesn't challenge you because it is safe, and you choose the couch over the gym every time you feel a bit tired. This habit of choosing the easy path is a silent killer of your potential. You were not born to just be comfortable and safe. You were born to do something meaningful, and meaning is always found on the other side of discomfort. Seneca pointed out that difficulties strengthen the mind, just as labor does the body. When you always take the easy way out, you become fragile. You lose the ability to handle the inevitable storms of life because you have never practiced being uncomfortable. This is the paradox of the easy path. The more you avoid voluntary discomfort, the more power involuntary discomfort has over you. If you never push yourself, the slightest inconvenience feels like a disaster. The Stoic practice of voluntary hardship is about deliberately choosing the harder path to build your resilience. This could be taking a cold shower, fasting for a day, or doing the most difficult task on your to-do list first thing in the morning. These small acts of discipline are like deposits into a bank account of strength. When a real crisis hits, you will have the mental reserve to handle it because you have proven to yourself that you are stronger than your cravings for comfort. You must realize that the things you are avoiding right now are the exact things that will set you free. Growth only happens at the edge of your comfort zone. To break this habit, start making one choice every day that makes you feel a little bit of resistance. Have that awkward conversation. Wake up 30 minutes earlier, put down the phone and sit in silence. By consistently choosing the path of most resistance in small ways, you are preparing yourself for the big challenges. You are becoming a person who is not easily shaken by the world because you have already mastered the world within you. The easy life leads to a hard mind, but a hard life leads to an easy mind. These 10 habits are the invisible walls of a prison you have built for yourself, but you also hold the keys to the exit. Realizing that you are seeking approval, complaining, or avoiding discomfort is the first step toward freedom. This is not a process that happens overnight, but a series of small, conscious choices made every single day. You do not need to be perfect, you just need to be more aware than you were yesterday. Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions or becoming a robot. It is about reclaiming your agency so that your life is a product of your values rather than your impulses. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to pick just one of these habits, the one that hit you the hardest, and decide exactly how you will handle it differently tomorrow. If it is complaining, decide you will go the whole day without a single grievance. If it is overthinking, commit to one action that moves the needle on your worry. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your habits. Stop being a slave to the patterns that are making you small. You have everything you need within you to be the person you want to become. Now, go and be that person. Your future self is waiting.